From WDWNT, the worldwide leader in Disney Parks news, this is ParksCenter. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of ParksCenter. Joining me on tonight's show, we have Ashley. Nope. Ashley, there? Oh.
Sorry, it's been a little minute.
There we go.
Hello.
We've got Jill.
Hello.
We have Nathan.
Greetings from the Sunshine State.
And Pete.
Sivako.
Appropriate. I got the new backdrop.
I love the new backdrop. I'm so happy about that backdrop.
Yeah, me too. Good move. Let's get this show rolling though. First topic for the night, talking about speaking of rooms. You used to be able to kind of cheat the FastPass system a little bit. If you had a resort reservation, you could book, what was it? I think it was 60 days out? Yeah, 60 days out for your FastPasses. Whereas if you didn't have that, you would only be able to book 30 days out. Well, what some people were doing was booking a room, booking their FastPasses 60 days out, then at the 30-day mark, canceling their hotel reservation and just keeping the FastPasses. But no more! This loophole has been closed. If you cancel a hotel reservation and you booked FastPasses 60 days out, your FastPasses will get dumped on you. So you will not have those anymore. You cannot cheat this system like that anymore. And I'm kind of glad to see loopholes like this getting closed, because it just makes things harder for the rest of us.
Yeah, I have no issue with this at all. I completely agree. I think there's this, maybe this idea of like, oh man, like Disney canceling stuff. You know, we sort of have this first wave of, we're always like negative kind of about stuff. And then when you think about it, you understand the loophole, and that's kind of, you made it very clear there. It's a great call. It means people at the resort who should be getting the fast passes for the prices they're paying will be able to have that opportunity, or at least be a lot more possible of getting those opportunities. Especially this is a loophole that could not have lasted through Star Wars. Are you kidding me? Everyone would have heard about this loophole and would be doing this all the time.
Oh,
so
you bet.
I'm sure Star Wars is the reason this is finally getting taken care of, because they see that on the horizon, and reservations will start really pouring in here.
Is that going to be the new thanks Shanghai? Is thanks Star Wars?
I promise you
so
it will
far,
be.
thanks
Yeah.
Star Wars is a good thing.
Yeah.
I agree with Nathan. I'm all about this. I had heard about these loopholes that no one knew about, and I felt like I wasn't part of the cool kids club because I didn't live down in Florida and know all the secret ways to get fast passes. And then I found out on accident this past fall, only about 3 months ago, where I had to cancel a reservation in one hotel and move to another hotel on property. And I was like, I don't want to lose my fast passes if I cancel my reservations. They were like, oh, don't worry about that. They stay anyway. And I told the customer, like, well, are you saying that like all I have to do is like call and book a hotel, cancel it, I can still get fast passes 60 days out? She was like, well, I can't officially say yes to that question, but like, I don't know. And then I was like, oh, I'm part of the cool kids club. I never use it because I just like feel bad, and I want someone to have like, I always think like if I take someone's fast pass, it's their first trip to Disney, and they won't be able to do the ride they want to. So I did the right thing. But I'm happy now that it's official. Nobody can do it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a situation where this is, going to sort of negatively impact somebody that it shouldn't, like that shouldn't get hurt by it, where they're sort of, a casualty, a collateral damage or whatever. And I couldn't, outside of what Pete just described, where you're at a hotel and you want to move to a different hotel, whether while you're there or within that like 60-day FastPass window, that's the only time I could think of where it would kind of not be fair if they took away your FastPasses. And I would assume that Disney has things in place where they could allow for those FastPasses to continue if you're just moving your reservation from one hotel to another. Yeah. But outside of that, like, who is this hurting? And I also appreciate that it puts not just more fast passes into the inventory, but more hotel rooms into the inventory, because there are definitely been times that it's been tough to find a hotel room that you're looking for. And so now people aren't taking those off the market because they're trying to pull this in.
I didn't even think about it from that angle, but yeah, this really just opens things up to everybody more. This This is going to be nice. Speaking of things that are going to be nice, I am really looking forward to this one as somebody who has a relatively smart home. Smart speakers are being tested at Yacht and Beach Club right now. Like in the room, like you'll just be able to ask like when the next bus to Magic Kingdom is. You'll have access to a bunch of information stored in My Disney Experience, wait times, bus times, park hours, things like that. I would assume it can also play, like it says here, it can play music on demand, but I would assume it can play the music from the hotel TVs, just that background music, because I know so many people just put that on at night so they have some background music while they're going to bed. It would be nice to have something that doesn't require the TV to be on for that music.
Mm-hmm.
You nailed it. I literally love falling asleep to that music. It's my favorite part of staying at a Disney resort. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason for me to stay at a Disney resort. I take Ubers anyway because I'm like waiting for the buses. It's so I can have the resort channel. That is the primary reason. I don't know. I have a few things on this. One, if Ben's home is smart, I can only imagine how stupid my home is. Two, this is coming from, they started surveying about this a few months ago, even on Disney cruise ships and also around the resort, saying, would you be interested in this? Is this a service that you would be into and whatnot? So it's funny that it's finally showing up here at Yacht and Beach. We know where they were doing it before. I'm into this. I did see some of the Diz Twitter comebacks where like, I don't want Disney listening to my conversations, or what we liked or didn't like. I don't think that's going to be a big part of this. I mean, who knows, maybe down the road. But I am all for this. It is really cool to say, like, when's the next bus? And that way you can be given the wrong time verbally as opposed to just visually. And just, like you said, the music. This is fun. This is exciting. And Disney's fun.
Yeah.
All these little technology things.
I'd like to
and I'm
take
tired of people asking me, like, Pete, when's the next bus time? Pete, when's this? Now there's an actual speaker that can do it.
I'd like to take a second real quick for the smart home stuff listening in on your conversations. They don't do that. Like, all of them have trigger words, be it like Alexa or Hey Google or anything like that. You have to say that before it'll start listening to you. And you're like, well, how does it know whether or not it's listening to you? Well, it is listening, but it's not recording anything. It's not saving anything. It's not sending any data out to the internet. It waits for that trigger phrase before it starts like sending any data out to anyone. If it doesn't hear that trigger, that data is immediately thrown out. So
Alexa
that's some
on this
paranoia.
show.
Ben, I guess
I
what I
don't
would
know,
say
part
about
of me,
go ahead,
part
Jeff.
of me
Nathan.
kind of wishes that they would listen in on our conversations, because then we could actually say some things and maybe the right people would hear them. But,
Well,
typing.
what I was going to say on that point, though, is there is an encryption issue, which, of course, Apple has said with their home system, they're encrypting everything you ask it, and they don't actually know what it is. It goes to where it needs to go, and that's it. Google has, if I'm correct, and I could be wrong, who knows what the updates are, that's less so, things of that nature.
is.
Disney is going to use these analytics. I don't necessarily think that that's a problem as long as everyone's aware of it. I actually think these things are not going to be used very much. I think the common vacation person is going to look at their phone or think through it. We don't have a culture yet that is used to these speakers as being like an amenity that you get at a hotel in general. I think people are going to forget it's even there to ask, especially when they're tired after 9 hours, 10 hours in the park with a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. So, though I think this is a nice idea, and maybe it works for DVC club, places and a little more upper level areas for more like Bay Lake resorty sort of people. I don't know if this tech is actually something that's going to flourish necessarily for the common Disney vacation.
Yeah, that's fair. I suspect the most common use will just be like, hey, Mickey, turn the lights off or something along those lines. But
Or play the music.
yeah, really.
Yeah.
Or tell me a nice bedtime story.
Or give me some updates
Oh,
about
I didn't
Paris.
think of that. How would that be cute?
I mean, they've got those
Would
read-along books. We're going to go back here. They've got those read-along books. Like,
They do.
you can read along with Google. They make books like you can tell Google you're reading the story, and it'll put sound effects in the background as you're reading along with the book. It'll know where you are in the story
would
based
be
off what you're
cute.
saying, and it's
And I
it's
believe
really
they have
neat.
stories. Don't they have a channel for stories at Disney already? They do stories.
Yeah, they do the
Yeah, they do
like
the
Duffy
bedtime
stories.
Like that Eeyore self-help book.
Yeah.
No, I just kidding.
Well,
I
and
don't
you can
know, that's
even,
wrong.
make priority
I don't know.
or dining reservations on probably through it. So I think there's a lot you could do. I mean,
Yeah.
you can say, you might not know which park you want to go to when you get up in the morning. You could ask what the wait times are for like Flight of Passage or whatever, and decide which park you're going to go to based on that. So I think there's,
Yeah.
you know, even the typical Disney guest who's maybe not super techie would find that amusing and part of sort of, if it's not something they care about and not something they have at home, they might see it as part of the Disney magic.
Yeah.
I wish you
That's
could program
very
which
true.
voice responds to you, kind of like the navigation apps, where it's like only Goofy responds or
Yeah,
only
that-
Donald.
All right,
I mean,
I am
too.
going to cut this off, but I'm going to say that this is going to be the
on.
start of our post show tonight. So if you're a Wigs member, stay tuned
All
for that
right.
post show, and we will
Right.
go in depth about all of the wonderful things we can do with smart speakers. But moving on for the time being, there are some updates that we've gotten about Paris. I should say one update and one rumor. So let's start with what we know, which is that Rock and Roller Coaster at Disneyland Paris is going to be closing this coming September so that they can put in an Iron Man attraction. It looks like that is going to be just an overlay at this point, not really a full like track change or anything like that. But to be honest, this version of Rock and Roller Coaster is nothing like the version we've got in Florida, so retheming that is kind of a good idea. I'll let other people talk about that more. But the other thing that we have from Paris is that they might be getting Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. There's going to be, we believe, another e-ticket attraction in addition. So this is distinctly in the realm of rumor at this point. It would be what it looks like the Paris version is going to be built and open around the same time as Anaheim, so 2021, 2022 time frame, if it does manifest. So have at it, Floor, whatever one of these you want to attack first.
Madame.
Yeah,
I
actually,
don't
go
want to talk
ahead.
at all. Go ahead.
I was, I was gonna say I'm not that big of a fan. I've made it very known. I'm not a big fan of the idea of Runaway Railway. I'm kind of surprised that they're already announcing it at other parks when it hasn't opened here. It might be a good idea. It might be great, especially if there's still an unannounced e-ticket. What makes me nervous, and granted, I don't know much about the Paris. I'll take y'all's word for it that it's an inferior version. It does make me nervous for our Rock and Roller Coaster, and I don't want ours to go anywhere because I love it. I know Aerosmith is dated, but there is still something very fun about Aerosmith music and a roller coaster in the dark. And so that makes me nervous that if this works there, they might not see the value in keeping ours.
I mean, I'll just say my classic joke when it comes to Rock and Roller Coaster, which is it's so old that it basically is the Mummy.
Don't be
so.
full.
Well, you know, what can I say? But I disagree. I'm happy for this change. For Paris needs stuff, and this is a great get for them. And I'm just someone who thinks that once they figure out all of the logistics, Hollywood Studios will get some Marvel. And there's no joke that there is a Guardians ride that was once a Tower of Terror ride, and now there's an Iron Man ride that used to be a version of Rock and Roller Coaster. To think that they have not thought that through, I think gives them a disservice. So I'm curious about Iron Man because I'd like to see what we may see here in the future. And Runaway Railway is going to be a staple in many of the parks because it's a Mickey ride and they've never done one, and they're not going to do several different types of Mickey rides. This is something that they've already spent money on. So I am not surprised at all that this is going to travel internationally into many different places. Probably more. We'll find out though.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think they think Runaway Railway. Oh no, sorry. Go ahead, Jill.
I was just going to say, I'm kind of on board with Nathan on this one as far as Rock and Roller Coaster goes. Do you know that Aerosmith first got together in 1970? That's 49 years ago. And
I did not. I
I
will
mean, there are
admit,
so
not
many
know that
people.
part.
There are so many people that go to Disney every day that, you know, have been born since Aerosmith put out their last album. You know, so it's kind of, I get it, like, plenty of people get it, but there's so many people that don't, and I feel like it is a cool ride, and keeping the Aerosmith theme on it is almost wasting that. I will be interested to see if the Iron Man thing happens. I know we've got all the concerns about what properties we can and can't bring to Orlando. The other thing I thought was interesting is now that they're putting the Lightning McQueen show down there, will there potentially be talk of a Cars overlay? I mean, the car of the coaster is a car already. So
yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, but once they announced the Lightning McQueen show, I thought, well, that's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
I'm not a fan, but I agree.
I don't think it's gonna. I don't know. I think it's more the Monsters door. You'll see more than the door coaster they've always been talking about. Oh, then Cars 2 is just such. I think to such a younger audience, having a roller coaster that does loops. I don't know if that.
Yeah, I think it's a.
And my last thing, just 10 seconds on Runaway Railway, is I think we could tell by the fact that they're already expanding it before it opens. They think that this is It's a Small World. I think that they think with the original song and the original technology, I think they literally think that this is their next big thing. And it's Mickey, and it's like, there's no IP, but it's the main IP. Like, I don't know. I saw this coming a mile away that this will be in every park.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. I hope they're right. I really do hope putting eggs in this basket is worth it, but we'll see. Moving from there to something that happened in Disneyland this week. We had a guest that climbed out, as opposed to the title, they climbed out of one of the Space Mountain rockets, which caused the ride to close. We later posted a story that kind of followed up on this and gave a little bit more information about what happened. So one guest got out of the ride vehicle, forcing his way around the safety mechanism on the initial lift hill. The ride was stopped. The guest was guided to safety. The guest was uninjured. He was taken to first aid as a precaution, but there was nothing. There were no injuries or anything like that to report. This is something that, at least for me, and I'll admit I'm slightly uneducated on this. I haven't heard about anything like this happening since the days of, gosh, what was it? The Horizon Project? I forget what the name of that was. Nathan, do you remember what that was? The folks who would
Nathan remembers everything.
I'm on the spot.
No, you may or may not have interviewed this person at some point.
I know what Horizons is, but I'm not 100% sure in what Horizons project is into what you're talking about.
There were some folks who got out in Horizons and documented.
You mean the Mesa Verde Times?
Yeah, the Mesa Verde Times. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you.
No, that's for sure. Mm-hmm.
Which means green table.
To explain that, they popped out of the cars. I would say there's a long history of people popping out of vehicles and sensors not picking them up. I have several books sitting on my shelf that are basically just, and this is when this person fell out. This is when this person ran out. Truly, there are. I think the circumstances for this one's a little different. And I'm just glad that everyone's okay.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say. Go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, I was going to say, I think I've seen it happen before. I think something else happened. I'm glad that he was unhurt. I think this story more lies with there was probably some sort of issue with the ride itself. Clearly not a major issue, since OSHA came out and investigated. It was up later that day or the next day?
I think it was the next day.
Okay. So there was probably a glitch in a system somewhere that didn't pick it up right away. Or it did, and maybe just because, again, we're living in the days of Twitter, it blew up on Twitter, and whereas before it probably wouldn't have. I mean, I personally have seen guests get out and walk along the track side of Splash Mountain for 2/3 of the ride and then jump back in their boat at the very last second, and sensors did not pick it up at all. And there was a malfunction with the sensor system, and you don't necessarily know until you have somebody else tell you that, hey, these people got out. But I think it really blew up because of Twitter. I think it can happen. It's scary. I'm glad that he was unhurt.
For sure.
But it definitely can happen.
I don't know if it was an issue with the ride. I'm pretty sure there was an only investigation because of how big it did get, because of social media and everything else out there. Because, I mean, immediately after it happened on Twitter, and I was asking, actually put it in our company chat room, if you want to call it that, but saying like, hey, Twitter saying someone just jumped out of a vehicle on space. You could see the empty car in the photo pass thing. What's going on? Is the person okay? Now they closed the ride. What's happening? We come to later find out the individual did shimmy his way around the device and force his way out of the vehicle. So it wasn't if there was a malfunction where the vehicle, lap bar went up or anything like that. He used force to get out. We should keep in mind that it did say in the report the guy had cognitive disability. So
that's absolutely true.
Yeah, it doesn't really surprise me there too. And I was saying to you guys before the show started is I'm either not surprised it's not the first time it happened, or maybe every time this has happened, or if it has, we haven't heard about it, because what are you going to do in that situation? You do have, to me, is where the parents or the friends were, especially in Disneyland where Space Mountain's a 2-seater.
Yeah.
Someone's got to be there to see this guy shimmying out around his lap mechanism and then getting out of the vehicle. Someone should have stopped him or pulled him in. Maybe, if at least if they knew him and he had a cognitive disability. If it's a stranger, obviously you're not going to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I mean, there's a lot of rides you can jump out of. There's a lot of rides you can get out. And I'm sure this happens. And, Disney can use their authority to ban people and everything else. The guy was never charged with anything. Disney kind of not swept under the rug. They did all their checks. OSHA was there. They took a day to shut down the ride and check everything. It was an unfortunate circumstance. And I think, if anything, Disney can, I'm sure they do learn from this every time it happens, especially on a ride like Space Mountain that's in the dark. I'm afraid when my arms are up, they're going to get chopped off half the time. and they do. When you put your arms up in the tunnel, you can touch the ceiling the whole way through. And I'm going this high.
It's a bit much.
Yeah. So I was hoping Tom Brady was going to do that when he was there last week. But anyway.
Well, if you want more things that are scary and in the dark, well, I guess this isn't quite as scary. But VI Passholder nights. It's Passholder. That's what it says.
No, it's not.
That is what.
You missed a period.
All right.
VI Passholder nights. They're coming back to Epcot and Magic Kingdom this February and March. So Magic Kingdom, it's going to be Tuesday, the 26th of February, from 10 p.m. until midnight. Epcot's going to have one on March 21st from 9 to 11, which is going to be during Flower and Garden. So you'll have access to some of the festival marketplaces, some character greets, and I would assume
you say
some
you'll have
attractions,
access. This is a non-story. I'm cutting you off. You're saying it as if people can still sign up. These things are literally sold out within minutes of them being not even announced. Like, the email goes out, like, want to do it? I saw the email 2 hours later. I went to go sign up for either one. I don't have a vacation plan, but I did it anyway. They were both sold out. I don't care how excited they sound when they say, "Baby, got Passholder back." It doesn't mean anything. This is
well, not only that,
but you have to be on your phone like this. It's almost as if like refreshing for a FastPass.
Right.
You have to refresh in the days this is going to come out. Like, refresh.
Well, this is sadly a loophole thing, because some people won't show up. They're getting it and they don't have a plan to get there, but they have the ability to get it, and they go, "Oh, yeah, I'm just going to grab it real quick, and if I can get there, I'll get there." Also, these are terrible days. I get why they do them on weekdays, but like for normal pass holders who live in the area, which is the majority of pass holders, like, hey, do you want us to go till midnight and then take an hour to get out of the parks on a Tuesday night? Does that sound like something you can do on a work day? And that's sort of my main reason for, it was exciting the first time I did it, and I think it's fine that they do it. And I know why they can't do it on weekends. I get all of those reasons, but it is a benefit to some people, those who, I guess, retirees and things of that nature that like to stay out late, I guess. But it is
retirees. You think the retired community is staying out late?
I don't know.
That's a really.
Who
is this for? That's a good question.
I know that unemployed people don't have Passholder.
No,
I
think
this
throws people out.
Wow, Nathan really sounds like a Patriots fan here.
Yeah.
Let me complain about how hard I have it. I can't go to this special thing that the vast majority of people have zero access to.
No, I think it's really cool. I just think that I mean, I'm glad it's there. I just think it's weird that it's on a weekday, and for pass holders
on a weekday. But they're doing something nice for the pass holders.
My opinion can still be that it's dumb. It's on a weekday.
No, but the less pass holders there, the better. You get more of an experience, shorter lines, nicer things. Let the people not show up. I'm just saying there should be some kind of like system where, like, if you didn't go to one yet, you get top priority, or like you can sign up between this hour and this hour and have a day's notice. There should be a better system for pass holders besides just the people who instantly see it, sign up, they don't even have a care if they go, or have some kind of demerit where you can't go to the next one if you don't show up to this one.
Yeah.
They can keep track of pass holders. There should be a
Well,
system.
Disney's
I
already
like that
spent,
they.
yeah. Well, I'm just saying you've already spent your money on them. That's why we don't get like all the unique, like how we can make this as accessible as possible to people is because they already have our money. And what are they going to get? Like a cronut off of us while we're there? Like it's not there's not much to it.
No, but I mean, I think that they could do it. I mean, we talked about this during the last one, and I'll just do it quick. I'm sorry, we're over time.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, on the last one, some people got the email at noon, some people got the email at 4 p.m., and it was already sold out by then.
Yeah.
Or they had like 1 minute left. So, I mean, there is a way to space out which group gets the email at what time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I still like to do something nice. So, anyone from Disney listening, thanks for everything.
Yeah. Branching off what Nathan said about Disney getting our money. Disney put out a bunch of new merch for It's a Small World. Oh my gosh. Look, we've got a phone case. We've got hoodies. We've got tank tops. We've got Tsum Tsums. Look at these. Oh my gosh, they're amazing. I can hear Fig squealing off in the background. We've got mugs. We've got magic bands. We've got more t-shirts. We've got a throw. We've got more t-shirts. We've got ears. We've got totes. Look at the ornaments. I really like the ornaments. I think I might actually like
cute.
that. I think that's the one thing that I might end up actually getting from this is the ornaments, because that's just so classy. What's everybody's favorite from this thing?
I mean, I'm just happy when Mary Blair gets credit for, and her stuff gets out there. So I'm just happy for any of it to be out. The mug's gorgeous. I'm going to have to pick one of those up, I think, myself, and I'm not even that massive of a fan. So.
Yeah, I definitely like the mug, and I would have to agree with Ben about the ornaments. Maybe the Tsum Tsums. I think that would be my third favorite item. I'm not a huge Tsum Tsum person, but those are definitely adorable, especially with the little... I guess, is that supposed to be, the facade?
Yeah, that's the facade, and there are little holes in the facade where you can tuck the critters in, and they can sit there.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm surprised that they're going all out for a Small World, because I feel it's kind of the pop culture joke to mock it, even though I do love it, but it is kind of the joke. So I'm pleasantly surprised. I think it's a great thing that they're like Nathan said, that they're giving Mary Blair the recognition and the ride the recognition.
Yeah, I agree, Ashley.
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, I find it interesting that they're doing all, I could see them doing all this if it were, say, the anniversary of, which I guess
right,
is like the 55th anniversary of it opening at the World's Fair, but that's 55th is not really like a huge anniversary. So I just find it interesting that they didn't sort of save this for something a little bit bigger. Or more like some sort of milestone or whatever. And I think it's great. I think it's really cute. I hope they do this for more other attractions that I like better than I like.
Yeah.
I think this guarantees us. I think this guarantees us a Funko at this point. I don't believe there has been one. And if they're going to go all out on all this stuff, it seems like they will. Oh, the one thing I am disappointed about is I actually don't like. I don't not like, but the kids are not my favorite part of the ride. I think that the multicolored animals is some of Blair's best work on that ride, and they do have like a few of the Tsums that are that, but I wish they would have emphasized more of that. Maybe we'll see some of those Funkos. I would love that. Is it a gator with a umbrella? I know the leopard has one. So like those sort of things in Funko form or in different forms, I think would be great. I'd buy a stuff of that in a heartbeat. They just got to do it. So we'll see.
Is the Funko craze going to end?
No.
Why would it need to?
I don't know. The Alice in Wonderland really was a fail.
Eventually they're going to do one for everything, and then you guys are going to say, now what?
Still available? Because
there's like
very available.
Of them.
I mean, I'm kind of annoyed at how expensive it is, but I really want one.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the biggest Funko manhole, and I'm a big Funko fan, and I am not going to buy that because I think it's so obscene that it's $50.
Yeah, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
If I see a Funko donut, I'm gonna blow my brains out.
The Splash Mountain Funko was way more elaborate than the Alice one, and it was $10 less.
Yeah, if it came with more, or I get it's a ride vehicle, but it's not like the Indiana Jones ride vehicle where it's a car; it's a teacup.
Yeah.
Don't rub that one in. I never got it.
That's right.
Anyway, let's talk about this crappy last time we had.
Yeah, let's cover this real quick. Yep, this happened. Patriots won the Super Bowl, and they went to
You might
Disney
remember
World.
them from the last 5
Yep.
times they won the
Please
Super
It
Bowl.
don't.
happened.
Hey, it wasn't last year.
It
All right, listen.
happened.
Here, I can talk on this real quick. I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm a New York Jets fan. So if it was up to me, I think Tom Brady is a legend. I think he's a nice guy. I wish he'd break his arm every September. But it is funny. I think it's very cool that Disney, no matter what the championship is, I mean, like, it's just cool if you're in Disney. Like, I never thought about this until, like, the last few sporting events, but always the day after any championship, whether it's, like, the World Series or the Super Bowl, they have the MVP or some predominant player or players in the parade the next day hanging out. It was cool. I'm not a big baseball guy, but, like, after the Astros won the World Series, I was in the parks, and I didn't even realize, like, that they were even going to be there. It just happened to be in the Magic Kingdom. They happened to be in the parade. And then afterwards, like, I don't even know who it was, but some big player on the Astros was, like, right next to me, just, like, like, that's really cool. That's the Disney magic. It is fun to see the videos, even though it's the Patriots. But, like, to see them on Slinky Dog and to see them doing the Jedi training in the parade, and they do the interviews, and it's cool. Like, they hang out. They say hi to people. They high five. They're signing stuff. It's cool that Disney has that kind of power. Like, they literally go there first and then go back to Boston for their parade. So that's, like, the power of Disney. I think it's really cool to have.
It's the power of Disney's
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, it is.
Just remember that. Just remember that for every player that gets to go, there was some losing team player that was supposed to.
Yep.
Right?
that
Who
just
cares?
not only
Just
I
waiting
love
in
so
standby
but
at Flight of
didn't get to go to
Passage.
Disney World. Yeah.
Parks fans
As
like
my
us do
friends
not
always
care
told
about
me,
it.
nobody
It's
cares
for
about the
advertising.
losers. And I
Oh, there's so many jokes I could make there, but that is the end of the show.
I'm a loser.
Thank you, folks, for joining us. If you enjoyed this show, then I highly recommend you check out some of these other programs that WDWNT offers.
Dreamfinders is WDW News Today's podcast all about the creative culture surrounding Disney parks. Curious what it's like to read poetry about the Haunted Mansion? Well, we've talked to someone who has. How about what it takes to actually build a Disney castle? We've chatted with a guy who did just that. Authors, Imagineers, dancers, actors, photographers, filmmakers, and a whole lot more have all stopped by to chat about how Disney has inspired their artistic work. Dreamfinders. Episodes drop every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher.
Ride Rehab is the podcast of ridiculously reskinning, refurbishing, and even removing Disney attractions, shows, areas, and parks. Can we cram Star Wars or Marvel into anything else? Just listen and find out. Visit riderehab.com to start listening now. That's riderehab.com.
WDWNT Nerd Alert is the podcast that encompasses all things Marvel and Star Wars in a fun and entertaining format. On each episode, we take a look at the latest news, provide reviews for the latest feature films, inform you about what is going on in the comic book world, and discuss and debate original topics pertaining to the worlds of Marvel, Star Wars, and beyond. Find us on various podcast applications by searching for WDWNT Nerd Alert.
The WDW News Today podcast is the one that started them all. Join us for comprehensive history segments, heated debates, epic countdowns, and more from the Disney theme parks around the globe. Just search for WDW News Today in whatever podcast service you choose.
Last but certainly not least is WDWNT's premiere show, WDW News Tonight. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. for a live weekly audio and video show that combines the latest headlines, comedy, trending vacation topics, call-in games, and in-depth discussions to bring Disney fans a one-of-a-kind 2-hour program covering the Disney parks. If you can't catch the show live, you can always watch it later on YouTube or listen to it through your desired podcast service.
Alrighty, folks. Thank you all for watching tonight's episode. If you are watching live and you are a WIGS member, please stay tuned for our post show. If you don't know, WIGS is our WDWNT Interglobe Society, which is what we use to refer to our patrons. If you go over to patreon.com/WDWNT, for as little as $2 a month, you can help support this show and all the other shows that WDWNT puts out and get access to exclusive content like our post shows for News Tonight, and plenty of other benefits, including the entire podcast backlog is up there and available, including shows that we don't put out anymore, like, if I remember right, the Super Obscure Show is up there, along with plenty of other great content. So I highly recommend you check that out at patreon.com/WDWNT. And with that, if you're sticking around for the post show, we see you in just a couple seconds. Don't change that dial. We'll be right back. Otherwise, we will see you next week.